Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Good evening everybody, Militiaman and Crew here. It's Thursday, and I just want to say hello. Thank you for being with us at patreon.com, and everybody's welcome to come on into the Discord chat room. You guys will find that it's quite vibrant, and you'll find Super Samson and Gigi will be in there helping everybody out, especially all the newcomers. They do a wonderful job. Super Samson kills it when it comes to the news, and it's one of the reasons why I have a lot of quality data, and so it's really cool. Being in different time zones has advantages, and thumbs up, Samson. Sleep well. And so we'll go from this first article. The governor of the central bank, this came out early this morning. It says we're establishing an integrated and secure electronic payment structure in Iraq. I'm pretty sure they already have done that, but that's what the headline says. It says the Central Bank of Iraq, alike, that's a tongue twister. Thursday, the development of the rules and guidelines supporting electronic payment, while referring to the work to consolidate the electronic payment infrastructure through 5 projects. He talks about digital transformation has become a strategic option in building a modern state, diversified economy, and transparent government services, as international experiences have proven that digitization is not a luxury, but an essential driver of sustainable development. Improving the work environment, empowering the youth, and developing vital sectors. So obviously it's a key component of what's happening and what's taking place. And he's been somewhat of an architect. The good Dr. Shabibi's passed away many years ago, was the architect of the project to delete the zeros. But Al-Alaq has been stated a couple of times, of course, that project, the delete the zeros project, still exists. So we haven't seen any change in that. But what we have seen over the last 2.5 years is exactly what they're talking about, a digital transformation. It says the central bank worked to develop electronic payment in an integrated and secure manner, including payment and settlement in accordance with the highest international standards and practices. These systems contributed to enhancing the efficiency and reliability of financial operations and supported the implementation of strategic initiatives in partnership with the government. So central bank and the government, central bank and the legal authority too, finance ministry. Okay. It says to localize salaries, e-fortification, and development of financing programs. So localizing salaries, that recalls to me that the unified treasury account is probably taken care of. I think it has. He points out the central bank based its role in managing monetary policy and organizing the financial and banking sector, is working within its plan to consolidate the electronic payment infrastructure through implementation of a number of national projects. He says the most prominent of these projects are, first, the instant payment system that allows financial transfer around the clock, gives the user a smooth experience, provides financial institutions with advanced services, while the second project, the Unified Portal for Payments and Government Destinations, which facilitates payment procedures, reduces manipulation, and increases trust. Big deal with banks. They need to have trust. They need to know their customers, and they also need those customers to trust them. The third project is the National Card Scheme, they call it, which builds an independent national system that preserves digital sovereignty, reduces dependence on external systems, and opens the door to products that suit the local market. So this is talking about the local market. This is talking about the country. This isn't talking about international, so to speak. It's basically focused on internal. It goes on and says the fourth project is the development of the national section to support the significant increase in the volume of transactions, so it's obviously working, and ensure the speed and stability of operations in a safe environment. The fifth project is to establish partnerships with regional and international institutions. So again, they're going to get their national setup prior to or during the time frame that they have partnerships with the regional and international institutions. That's global trade, you guys. And basically it keeps going. It says to deepen cooperation with global payment networks to benefit from their advanced tools. It says these steps are integrated within a comprehensive national strategy to reformulate the relationship of the state with society, enhance transparency in the provision of services, and achieve a balance between technological development and financial stability. He points out that there's an in-depth study underway to regulate the handling of crypto assets. So now they're going into the digital environment, are they not? I think they are. A lot of crypto, new technologies, are going to be in the future. And I think everybody really should start paying attention to that fact, is that if you own Dinar, you effectively, to some, are a gambler, and you took risks. Okay, no different than with crypto. Okay, whether that's going to be XRP, it's going to be Hedera, it's going to be many different entities out there. They're going to be used to facilitate cross-border payments. You should understand that and you should know what they mean. And it's important because the wave of the future is going to be digital. And that's just the way it's going to be, whether we like it or not. Okay. It says there's an in-depth study that is underway to regulate the handling of those crypto assets, taking into account challenges, risks, like I just mentioned, and opportunities, ensuring the requirements of financial stability, strengthening anti-fraud, money laundering, and terrorist financing systems. You guys remember that the back wall for the ISO 2022 is back in July. I think it was on or around the 14th. And maybe I got that to the 7th, but you guys, I think you'll probably find out which one that is, but I think it was the 14th. Anyway, it says the governor of the central bank called on the meeting. Wait, you know what? Back up again. You know, that was supposed to have been taken care of in early, I think it was February, that they were supposed to do that, but they kicked it out until July. And I think there's a reason for that, okay? But that Gazette paper that came out, that publication, 4833, I've talked about it a couple times. It's important, okay? Two components in there, internal regulations and 2024 financial list by the central bank. That happened, okay? And that is big. That happened on the 31st. That's public law. So obviously, that's probably going to be binding on the financial side, whether it's going to be from Taif Sami, the finance minister, and or alike. That's just a sidebar. But anyway, the governor of the central bank, he talks about to the media, educational institutions. He says, launching awareness programs that explain the advantages of electronic payments and the risks of dealing outside the official framework. The central bank confirms its full commitment to continuing working to promote a safe environment, as we believe that the government payments collection and electronic immunization are a key entrance to reforming financial management, enhancing net transparency, stimulating investment, and expanding the tax base. So it's all about, to some degree, financial management, making sure everybody knows what's going on, both sides of the trade, new technology, going to be able to do that. Stimulating investment, so there's going to be that trust. So if it's going to stimulate investors, they're going to feel comfortable with it. And expanding the tax base. In other words, they're going to have some revenue stream coming in for the state, which again comes back to their real effective exchange rate. Alike has been working hard to get where he is today with financial and banking reforms. It's quite clear. Public awareness by educating the citizens has been a process that has been, in my view, successful and will continue into the future. Making people aware of the new systems he has fortified with the new technology is so very important for the people to understand. He's pointing out a warning to those that are exposed to risk, but by not using the formal system. To me, that's very telling. If you guys know that the black market, the parallel market, that's an informal system. So he's giving them a warning. It's like, if you're not hooked up to the formal market, you're going to have some problems. And I think all of those banks and that may or may not have been isolated because they haven't connected to the new system, that's on them, and they're going to have some problems with that, and especially if there's some illicit dealings going on, and a lot of people lose money. I think there's going to be a lot of people in trouble, but we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. But look, not being part of formal system may have consequences that are not beneficial for those that choose not to be involved with it. Not being part of that formal system may leave people out of their future purchasing power. That's how I see it. I really do believe that that's sadly, but it could happen to a lot of people. Basically, this project has like 5 components. It's instant payment system, which is 24/7 financial transfers. A unified payment system, which simplifies government payments, reduces manipulation, and builds trust. There's one called the National Card Scheme, creates an independent system to ensure digital sovereignty and reduce reliance on foreign systems. So it's going to be an internal thing. Back to the internal regulation, Dave Sammy. National Switch Development supports increased transaction volumes with speed and stability in a secure environment. That is new technology. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see some interesting cryptos involved in that. Global Partnerships collaborates with international payment networks to leverage advanced tools. And it says that the key point with third one was broader impacts and goals, which aims to enhance transparency, financial stability, and government service delivery. And they have support initiatives. They're talking about localizing the salaries. That's what we've been hearing about for months and months, to a degree that you almost want to throw up. It's that bad. But anyway, they go on. They say there's a 10% increase in digital payments could significantly boost their GDP, highlighting economic benefits. He goes on and says addressing challenges to build trust, studying regulation of digital assets, e.g. Cryptocurrencies, to balance opportunities and risks like fraud and money laundering. And basically they're encouraging bank payments and companies and tech firms to develop secure infrastructure and innovative apps. And also calls for the media and educational institutions to raise awareness to the benefits and the risks of digital payments. Okay, so you guys are getting that whole thing, but the whole bottom line is the central bank is driving digital payment revolution to modernize the economy, enhancing transparency, and to attract investments. I think Al-Alak kind of knocked it out of the park and told us a big story today, and just how important what's been taking place for the last 2.5 years is coming to fruition. It says here, the chairman of the Baghdad Council of Digital Transformation article. Commitment to electronic payment is easy to access for non-cash transactions. It says the president of Baghdad Council of Digital Transformation Electronic Payment, Haider Amran. It says confirmed on Thursday the commitment of ministries and institutions to electronic payment made it easier for citizens to access non-cash transactions, while noting that electronic payment is an inevitable force to strengthen the economy and develop the level of services. He goes on and says, today we're witnessing a vital launch in digital transformation. So today they're doing that, huh? That's interesting. And it says, today we're witnessing, yes, launch of digital transformation, electronic payment in Iraq. Through this conference that aims to strengthen electronic payment systems in state institutions, address challenges in legislation, and build an integrated national map for digital transformation. That's like I was talking about. This is primarily focused in on Iraq. And it says there's an urgent need for specialized entity that leads this process and works to consolidate efforts between the government and private entities to ensure integration, accelerate the pace of implementation, and achieve tangible impact on the ground. He goes on and adds that it's e-payment today is indispensable force to strengthen the economy, develop the level of services, reduce corruption, consolidate the principles of transparency, strengthen the governance, as the role of the Baghdad Council comes as a national platform aimed at supporting government policy to digitize the services, implement projects, electronic payment systems, stimulate financial inclusion, enhance integration between the public and private sectors, and building and developed and secure infrastructure. So this all went on today. It talks about they adopted a set of essential meanings, most notably coordination with the government institutions to implement electronic payment decisions, enabling the private sector to perform its role in digital transformation through strategic partnerships and integrated projects, and spreading the culture of electronic payments through awareness, training, and support for institutions, pointing out that we have witnessed a remarkable rise over the past few years in digital trading through the efforts of the central bank, and the commitment of the government, ministries, and institutions to apply electronic payment decisions seriously and highly responsible, which contributed to facilitating citizens' access to their non-cash transactions. So they're going to go to a less cash society. Not no cash, just less. Here again, the focus is about what's taking place and what has been already put in place regarding Iraq's digital transformation. The citizens are being told that reforms are necessary and they're not optional. What is taking place is vital for Iraq's success in the global financial system. So they got to take care of home before or during the time that they have integration into the global financial system. And I'm assuming those last 2.5 years shows they probably are ready to go, like I've been saying. I think they've done a lot. There will be enforcement measures taken to make sure that Iraq is successful in electronic payments going forward. They talk about those. They use the word enforcement. They do talk about it's not optional. They have to do this. It's no problem on my end. I don't think it would be on yours either. Here's some snippets that I have. It's Iraq's digital leap. Baghdad's council pushes for electronic payments. What's the vital role of these electronic payments? Well, Mr. Imran emphasizes electronic payments are essential for economic growth, improving services, reducing corruption, enhancing transparency and governance, all of the things that we've been talking about. And here it says specifically, digital payments are not optional, but a necessary force for modernizing Iraq's economy. And there's point 2, council minute, their mission, core objectives and strategies. They have public awareness, notable progress, impact on the citizens. What is it going to do? Simplifies access to non-cash transactions, making financial processes more efficient for the citizens. It talks about the supporting financial inclusion to build a secure, advanced digital infrastructure through public-private collaboration. So they're going to take the state and the private sector and work together as a team. Aligns with government policies to digitize services, enhancing that transparency and economic stability. So in conclusion of that, the Baghdad Council is driving Iraq's shift to electronic payments, fostering economic growth, transparency, and accessibility. And that's going to go all the way out into the rural areas too. And that's important. So the next article that we're going to talk about is probably going to be, is it going to be the long one? No, not quite. This is interesting. So we're talking about the rural area, right? So what they're having now is that for the first time in history, Iraq achieves an unprecedented record in electricity production. So the Ministry of Electricity, the gentleman by the name of Ali Fahil, it says, announced the ministry has achieved an unprecedented record in electricity production, reaching 1,000 megawatts for the first time in Iraq's history. A lot of people have been saying, well, Iraq's never going to do this. We got years to go. They don't even have electricity. And yet here they're talking about, for the first time in history, they've hit a milestone. It says, despite the challenges, we've reached peak production that thanks to a well-thought-out plan that includes long-term maintenance contracts, station upgrades, the installation of advanced cooling systems, and partial use of imported fuel. So they're going to be using some of their own fuel, as you'll see in contracts, etc. BP and big names coming to Iraq. He says, basically, that's what they said. They're going to have done all those things. They're going to be having long-term maintenance contracts, station upgrades, installation of advanced cooling systems, and only partial imported fuel. So it's going to save them a lot of money. They're talking about companies like General Electric to build power plants to capacity of 24,000 megawatts. Siemens, all these names you've heard of, 14,000 megawatts. Shanghai Powered, so China's involved, capacity of 10,000 megawatts. This is a big deal. Having 24/7 electricity is going to be very important in maintaining confidence of local and international investors. When I say local, I'm talking regional as well. So that's a big milestone that just got thrown at us today. Al-Alaq's happy. The Baghdad Council is happy. Electricity's on. People need cooling. It's pretty hot in Iraq right now. Okay, here's another one. Kirkuk gas investment, a new step for Iraq with BP. I just got through telling you about 3 different companies. okay, major ones like GE, Siemens, and I think it was Shanghai or something like that. Anyway, now British Petroleum. It says British Petroleum, it says that they have a necessity of developing the company's gas facilities, which are responsible for investing in the gas product produced from the oil fields in Kirkuk. This gentleman points out that the ministry signed a contract with the British company to develop 4 oil fields, which requires rehabilitating, expanding the gas facilities to accommodate these new quantities. Gas, associated gas, I believe, are components of producing electricity. It says the company's current production amounts to about 380 million standard cubic feet of dry gas per day, in addition to production ranging from about 1,100 and 1,200 tons of liquefied petroleum, which is LPG, and 750 cubic meters of gasoline per day, in addition to a sulfur production ranging from about 120 and 125 tons per day of sulfur. Iraq has some serious natural resources, you guys. It's going to be a big component. Their natural resources are going to be really big. Okay, and that basically, that sulfur is exported through SOMO after the completion of export contracts, and he explains that the company currently has a strategic reserve of more than 600,000 tons of sulfur. Pretty big chunk of sulfur. But it says that the contract signed with BP is not limited to developing oil fields alone, but rather includes important technical provisions related to modernizing and expanding the gas system linked to the North Gas Company. It goes on and says the development includes the use of modern technologies in gas processing, derivative extraction, which will enhance operational efficiency, reduce waste, and contribute to transforming the company into a key player in supporting the national energy system and economy. It says modernizing these facilities will support Iraq's plan to increase reliance on domestic gas and reduce imports, like they just said in another article, achieving self-sufficiency in several sectors. That's the whole goal. Iraq has all the natural resources, and they have what they call inputs and outputs, and they're going to make money on coming and going. That's the way it works, and Iraq is very fortunate to have her natural resources to be able to pull this off. And the world knows that, especially the stakeholders that have been doing this for over 20 years. Okay, so to me, this impact of this deal may be quite significant in totality. Iraq will benefit from the deal with BP having a signed contract. That's what the article talks about. This coming will be BP, a key player in Iraq's energy independence, will support the national economy. It will also show that Iraq is a good investment environment and will be instrumental in international partnerships with energy companies. To me, this is a really big deal, and there's expectations of more to come early next month in Baghdad. And we know that there's some really big names. I think there was Chevron, quite a few other companies. I think there was like 9 international companies going to be in Baghdad on the 6th and 7th, or 6th through the 7th. But here's a snippet that I found. The deal between Iraq and British Petroleum for the development of Kirkuk's gas sector, particularly the North Gas Company, has several significant implications for Iraq's energy sector, economy, and broader strategic goals. It says enhanced security and reduced import dependency, increased domestic gas supply. That gas supply agreement aims to develop and expand gas facilities to process and utilize gas produced from the Kirkuk oil. And then it also says this will boost the supply of locally produced dry gas and liquefied petroleum gas, right, to meet the needs of industrial sectors and power generation plants, like I mentioned. Currently, North Gas Company produces approximately 380 million standard feet per day. We went over that. It's going to reduce the gas imports. There's going to be economic benefits. It's going to support industrial and the power sectors. There's going to be significant revenue from those byproducts. It's going to create jobs, economic growth, technological and operational advancements. Well, they're going to use modernization of gas infrastructure. They're going to have that expertise from BP. It's going to provide environmental and sustainable energy, reduction in gas flaring. They're going to make a lot of money off of that. They're going to have or be able to support and sustain their energy goals. It goes on, okay? This is a big report. And bottom line is the deal between BP represents a strategic step for Iraq to bolster its gas sector, enhance energy security, and reduce reliance on that imported gas. It promises economic benefits through increased domestic gas supply, job creation, export revenues from byproducts like sulfur, right? Technologically, it introduces modern practices to improve efficiency and reduces environmental impacts. It's going to be a big deal. However, the success of this initiative hinges on overcoming some implementation challenges, right? And we all know that there's going to be challenges. Nothing's perfect. But again, I think Iraq has been stable. But the bottom line is that Iraq, with the help of BP, will be a competitive player in the global energy market while addressing critical domestic energy needs. And so if you think about that, all this stuff is happening at this time, and you're not seeing anybody back off and say, we're not investing in Iraq. They're not stopping with the Port-au-Faux. They're not stopping with the TIR system. Matter of fact, they just did another test through, or another successful trade from Jordan through Turkey. Okay, I don't think that that was in the dinar by any chance, because those two countries have their own currencies. It just happened to go through their country. So I'm assuming they got some, Iraq got some fees for that. Okay, that's part of the process. Okay, but here's an interesting thing, you guys, and this has to do a little bit of the politicians. I don't know if you guys remember that article about the USA trap. Well, they talked about taking care of people that were not playing by the rules. In other words, they gave them the leash. I think Iraq came out with the article, but they used USA. But the bottom line is that they're talking about corruption. And corruption, you let people keep doing the corruption, or keep an eye on them and watch them do it for 3 years, right? You learn about who they are, what the players are, and how they act. The new modern technology, the ICE-CUTA system, the e-governance, all of these things, all the monitoring that goes on, like all the trucks going across the borders that aren't being, or not necessarily using proper borders, are probably being watched. I mean, Iraq's got intelligence, so they're going to know that people are doing things. I don't care if you're the Barzani family or if you're part of the coordination framework. It doesn't matter. They're going to talk to you guys. And this article has a little bit of comment towards that. It says, the Supreme Judicial Council legal action may be taken against members of parliament after their term ends. So in other words, if they don't quite get reelected, they may have, maybe they'll lose their immunity. But the Supreme Judicial Council is talking about legal actions. It says the Supreme Judicial Council confirmed that legal measures can be taken against members of parliament after the end of their membership for any reason. That's big. Okay. They talk about the law. It says they discuss the text of Article 11, Second 4 of Law Number 10 of 2024. They talk about the Penal Code. I'm not going to go into that. Regarding approval or not to take legal measures against members of the House of Representatives or lift their immunity, according to Article 63 of the Constitution. The Council concluded that this does not mean closing the case permanently, but rather that legal measures can be taken against them after the end of their membership in the House of Representatives for any reason. Ah, interesting. One of the coordination frameworks people that we all know about has a lot on his back for a lot of things, and never been proven, but keep your enemies close. Watch what they do. They might have some problems. And interestingly enough, some of these amounts of money that some of these people have supposedly taken, which we haven't seen the crime of the century just yet, but that doesn't mean they haven't been working on it. And also publications in the news over the last, since 2016, suggest that it's upwards of $500–600 billion that have been stolen. Okay, Iraq has about $100 billion in reserves. Could you imagine clawing back $500–600 billion and adding that to their reserves? If you do a deep dive and understand that, you're going to realize that, man, Iraq does have the ability to support the value of their currency, a real effective exchange rate, to be very strong. And all that money, if clawed back and those assets go to the Treasury, they'll be able to support their value of their currency when they do an adjustment. it's pretty simple to do, but really when you do a deep dive or whatever into your research and stuff, make sure you're tooled. Like you have information from Patreon.com. I use this stuff and I use it very carefully, because if it's like garbage in, garbage out, you got to be very careful on what you ask, because you're not always going to get the answer that you want. But if you're armed with really good quality data, which we have, it'll make your job a lot easier, and it'll also probably blow your mind just how strong and valuable the country of Iraq is. There's an article out that came from Tehran the other day that was, I didn't publish it, but I read it and I was like, wow. Tehran is admitting that Iraq is one of the richest countries, that at least in the region by far. And they know that. They're trading partners. They can see the writing on the wall. So keep that in mind. You might want to look it up. You could probably find it. But anyway, personally, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few politicians, as some people say, they're going to get their collar felt. In other words, they're going to get a knock on the door. They're going to have some splaining to do, if you will. So I wouldn't be surprised if these politicians are sweating a little bit. But anyway, on a good note, everybody's moving forward. It was nice to hear from Al-Alaq today. It was nice to hear from the Baghdad Council. Nice to hear from the Supreme Court talking about taking care of business even after they're gone, because they're going to clean up the corruption. Whether that happens before or after, it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. They're going to take care of it anyway. So enjoy. I hope you like my content. And if you want to tap that bell, like, subscribe, I'd appreciate that. And once again, I always appreciate everybody helping keep the crew running with your donations. Any little bit helps, of course. And PayPal, Zelle, and Venmo is a way to do it. So thank you very much. Have a great night, and we'll see you soon. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.